Welcome back, everybody. Danny here. Thanks for joining in. We are back in Assetto Corsa, and I have run across a very cool app. It's a heads-up display that I think is really neat. You may or may not know about it, but in case you don't, I wanted to share a very quick video showing you guys this because it's very neat. But before I show it to you, it's obviously not on screen right now. I want to mention, you may have noticed that my upload schedule has slowed down a little bit. And that is for a couple of reasons. One, you guys know about, I've talked about it before, I'm having a lot of trouble with the demonetization stuff on YouTube. That's not just me, that's everybody. Big channels, small channels, we're having some issues. YouTube is trying to work it out. I'm not going to stop making videos, but I am slowing down just for the time being. I'm trying to give YouTube some time to work this problem out, and they are actively trying to fix it. I'm hoping by the first of the year, another month and a half, 2 months, it will be worked out. Everything will be back to normal, and I'll start uploading a more regularly scheduled video like normal, 3, 4 a week or more than that. But for now, the next couple of weeks, next couple of months, my uploads may be sporadic and they may be slower just because I'm having to deal with that. The other reason is because I have forced myself to get active again. I've forced myself, actually me and my wife, we have started going back to the gym because I will be 35 years old this year, and I'm getting extremely fat. Used to be very active, in very good shape for the majority of my life, and that is no longer the case, and the older I get, the worse it gets. So I have actively been back in the gym trying to just get myself back in better shape, and that takes a lot of time as well as these videos. So I'm just balancing life, at the moment. So guys, I hope you can understand that. Things will get back to normal, hopefully, probably the first of the year. But anyways, enough of that silly talk. Let's talk about what we have today, because this is very, very neat. I was watching a video on a Facebook group, and I happened to see this heads-up display that these guys were using, and I had never seen it before. You should know this, but if you don't know what a heads-up display is, that's basically your information, like the stock one I've never been very crazy with, but it's Essentials tab. This is a heads-up display. It's something you can pretty much put anywhere in the screen, the corner, the top. It shows you your RPMs, what gear you're in, basically your essential information. But I've never been too crazy about this digital dash. It's just not, I'm not a fan of it. I've never liked it. Also, most of the time, if I'm racing competitively, I'm actually using virtual reality. So because I'm using virtual reality, can take advantage of the actual in-dash tach and the in-dash speedometer and things like that in the car, whether that be a street car or a race car. But I know a lot of people don't have that, and they do need to use some sort of heads-up display. But this one, in my opinion, is crap. So I am a big fan of analog gauges, and what I ran across were these two applications that you can download off of Racedepartment. I will put the links in the description below. It is an analog tach and an analog boost gauge. This is really, really cool. I think it's supposed to mimic the initial D tach, but it's very, very cool. So you can see down at the bottom right of the screen there, I have turned that on. That's really cool looking. I like analog tachs much more than any kind of digital tach. Plus it's got the bright orange and red gear indicator, which is really neat. You see I am rowing through the gears right now. Huge, big speedometer that you can adjust to miles per hour or kilometers per hour, whatever you prefer. And then also this automatically changes and adjusts depending on what car you're on. So it's not always going to show a 7,500 red line. It's not always going to stop at 9,000 RPMs. It's going to depend on the car you are driving. So it's very, very cool. It always looks like this. And then there's some customizations you can do here. Let's see. Okay, that's going to be an indicator right there that comes with this app. I think that's going to show the locations of the cars around you, which can be very helpful, but I don't use that. It's got a lap time. Obviously, I've been sitting in this lap for a while, getting things ready for the video. And then I guess you can show your name. There's my name. It shows what car I'm in. I'm in a KS Audi S4 97 model tuned. And then here's where you can adjust various settings. See, here's where you can change your kilometers an hour or miles per hour. There's a drift light if that's what you're into. I don't do much drifting. I'm not that good at it, so I'm not going to turn that on. But you can see if I did, there's a word down there in the bottom right. Obviously, if I'm drifting, it will show me that I'm drifting. I'm assuming this comes from a game or maybe a show called Initial D. I've heard of it before, but I've never paid too much attention to it. To me, it reminds me of like a Need for Speed kind of gauge cluster, which is pretty cool. And then it's also got a night mode where you can basically turn the lights on. Now, this may not seem very usable if you are only holding base content of Assetto Corsa. The thing is, modded tracks are becoming more and more accessible using night environments. I've seen several lately that look really, really good, and they're somehow configuring these tracks to look like it's at night. Now, Assetto Corsa doesn't. It's not set up out of the box to run nighttime courses. It's just not built and built into the graphics of the way the game works is the best way I can explain it. But modders can figure out anything, and they have figured out a way to make some nighttime tracks. I may do some. I may show you some of those in another video. But anyways, it's typically the same guys who are using those nighttime cruising tracks that use these gauges. So they have added this nice effect where you can turn the gauges on or off. And I'm sure that change is much more drastic if you're actually on a track that is at night. And then you can adjust the refresh rate. I'm not sure why you would do this, but basically it makes the movement of the Tach just a little less fluid than it is. I'm really not sure why you would do that. And then there's some other options. You can make it bigger, make it smaller, etc. So that's the one application, is the Tach and all this here. And then the other application, because it's actually two of them, both of them again you can get from Racedepartment, and I will put the links in the description below. The other one is this boost gauge. Very, very cool. A very similar kind of thing. And if you are driving a car like I am right now that has a boost gauge, you see, like you do on screen, you have a boost gauge. It has settings as well. You can change it from PSI to a few other options. And just like the Tach changes from car to car, this turbo PSI indicator changes from car to car as well. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take a little drive in this car, and I'm going to kind of show you how it works. And it is very, very cool. I do like it. I typically do not drive from this kind of camera view, but you can just see how it works. It's very, 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 very cool. I do like it. And apparently this car is putting down 45 or so PSI, which is absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, it's very, very cool. So I just like it. It's something better to look at. Obviously, you can use this in the interior cam as well. It's not just for an exterior cam. But I do think you can see it better when you're using the exterior cam. I know it's becoming more and more popular. People are doing these cruising lobbies, kind of like used to happen a lot on the Forza series on the consoles. People, instead of racing, would make these cruising lobbies, and that's becoming very popular, where people are making these cruising lobbies in Assetto Corsa. I've joined in a couple of them. They are kind of a lot of fun, to be honest with you. It's pretty cool. And this is where these things come from, these little applications with different kind of gauges and heads-up displays, and then cars like I'm driving right now, just a ridiculous twin-turbo Audi with just stupid amount of power, you know. But it is really cool. It's a different kind of way than I typically play Assetto Corsa. This is not normally the way that I play this game, because I'm interested, or more interested, in the racing part of it. But I know a lot of people enjoy stuff like this, so I thought I'd just make a video here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put us down in fourth and bog us down, and you can see the boost gauge works correctly. There's definitely it shows the turbo lag like you would expect, and then it gets into the power and she just starts screaming. So it's very realistic. If I could find one minor flaw in this, it would be in the Tach. So when you get in a higher gear like we are right now, it doesn't move as fluid as before. So I'll give you an example as we come to this stop here. Alright, let me make this corner here. So when we're at a stop and we're just sitting and I rev the car up, obviously you can see that tach moves very quickly as you would expect it to. But let me just accelerate out of here kind of slowly. We'll row through a couple of gears. Alright, I'm going to go right into 5th here, and I'm going to step on it. Now, if you look at the tach, you can see before it gets into boost, when it's climbing slowly, you can see it hitting those individual ticks. That's the only flaw I see in it, is when the tach is moving slowly, it's not fluid, it just kind of goes through the ticks. But that's a minor downfall. Typically, you're not going to be paying that much attention to it, and I think being that it's free, and it is way better than the standard heads-up display in Assetto Corsa, it's a no-brainer. You know, you can also, if this is too big, I know a lot of people may think this is too big, you can scale them up or down. You can make them as small or as large as you want. Just like any other application in Assetto Corsa, you can move them anywhere on the screen you want. So yeah, I just wanted to make a video showing you this, guys, because I thought this is pretty neat. I wouldn't use something like this all the time, but just messing around like I am here, it's very, very cool, because you've got that great big old speedometer. You can read that very well at just a glance. You can see what gear you're in at just a glance, and I don't know, I just have this thing about analog gauges. I'm old school. I like analog gauges. I'm not crazy about the digital gauges. So this is cool to me. So anyways, like I said, guys, to the description, in the description, the links for both of these items from Racedepartment will be available. And you can download them for free. You just need an account for Racedepartment. But if you've ever downloaded any other apps for Assetto Corsa or mods for Assetto Corsa, surely you probably already have an account for Racedepartment. So that's going to be it, guys. Thanks so much for joining in, and I will talk to you in the next video.